I've been thinking about. Excuse me. I've been thinking about the future lately, which is strange because we don't even really know whether there will be a future at all. We can all die any moment, right? It's entirely possible for the world to end in 3 days. But regardless, I've been thinking about the future. I've been thinking about adulthood and how I want to live it. Of course, when I initially started all this thinking about all the potential futures I could have, I wanted to be successful. But then I started having second thoughts. Because there is a problem with success. I think the price is too high and the chances to succeed are too low. Say you want to build a haunted house, which is an understandable ambition. What will it cost? What will building a haunted house cost you personally? Well, the first thing is an education. What education that is sort of depends on where you live. There will probably not really be an education that is tailored specifically to building a haunted house. But if you do want to build a haunted house, you either need to do a study in theater or in management. This is the first cost. You need to spend at least 4 years in absolute agony, suffering without relief, sometimes literally, because they sometimes don't allow you to go to the toilet. 5 days a week, 40 weeks a year, 4 years of life. You spend doing all sorts of things, most of which are mostly unnecessary. Every day you'll be finding yourself writing down all sorts of notes that would only have been important if you were to have had a slightly different ambition. Only a few things you learn will ultimately be applicable, but you learn it all anyway, because you don't follow this study because it's useful, but because it's necessary. It's stupid, but, you know. So, you have finished your study and then, well, you'll probably try to find an investor, someone who is willing to invest in your project. And that's it. That's probably where your story ends, probably. Of course, you will get a job somewhere. You might get to work in an amusement park or something. Or maybe you'll be working for McDonald's. Of course, if you end up working for McDonald's, which is a terrible fate, it's game over. All 4 years were for nothing. Or maybe all 5 years if you were not as lucky. But if you start working for example, Disney, there might still be a chance that maybe one day you get to work on your own project. But it's only a chance. You cannot expect it to happen. But if it does happen, your haunted house will suck. It would not be as good as you would have wanted, probably. There's either going to be an outside force trying to interfere with your personal creative vision, or alternatively your attraction sucks because of your own incompetence. Either way, when you will have accomplished your success, you will not be content. And if you are content, then that means that you are under stress every day, which also sucks. I know that because my father is successful and he is always very unhappy. His only consolation in life is late night television and unhealthy foods. It would be really good for him to go into an early retirement so he doesn't die of a heart attack. Of course, suffering can be meaningful. If you are a superhero who has to fight a malevolent force, you will suffer, but your suffering will be worth it. And similarly, if you choose an ascetic lifestyle in order to do more good, your suffering will be worth it. But success is, in my opinion, often not worth it. Not only would a lot of people be happier if they did not strive to be successful, they would also often be more valuable to society as well. Our society needs a lot of people in a lot of unsuccessful positions. In the modern world, where a lot of people strive for success, there's a huge shortage of masons, for example. There's also not enough mechanics and gardeners. And even though plumbers are portrayed as epic people by a certain classic video game franchise, people do not become plumbers either, because you are not considered successful if you are a plumber. So all the people who could have potentially become a plumber, a gardener, a mechanic or a mason are now instead flipping those horrible burgers at McDonald's. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, and their uniforms look atrocious. So no, do not follow your dreams. Just let your dreams be dreams. That is good enough. Because let's face it, most people are not really talented, and neither are you probably. But if you do have talent, good. Follow your dreams, but be aware that it's a nightmare to make those dreams come true. And please, When you get to the point where everyone else would quit, you should probably stop there, because there's only so much suffering a human being can endure.